the Variety article pointed out that Warner Brothers is not going to continue the Snyderverse. And I have seen a certain behavior in the Snyder Bros that is just par for the course. I've been dealing with Snyder Bros trying to defend the Snyderverse since Man of Steel came out. And it was garbage. Just everything about it was garbage. That was in no way Superman. It was an utter deconstruction of Superman. Okay. I saw that in the film, so I started pointing it out. I didn't go on Man of Steel message boards. I didn't go on, Zack Snyderverse, message boards or anything like that. I actually, at that time, I didn't have a YouTube channel. I had a Facebook page, an Iconic Superman Facebook page, and I would point out the real deal, the true iconic Superman, and why he's important, and how Zack Snyder's movie fell utterly short. Almost immediately, I began to be attacked by people who like the Snyder movie. How insecure, though, do you have to be about a movie you like, or a fandom or whatever? How insecure do you have to be that you feel the need to go combat and attack and take down anybody who disagrees with you? Not anybody who's coming onto your platform and trying to be a party pooper, but somebody who's swept out their own little corner of the internet and decides to do something there. That's an insecurity. And now when I ran that Iconic Superman page, there were, I would, all of a sudden I would see like surges of people trying to come troll the page or whatever. And I would like, where's this coming from? And I did a little digging and I actually found some of the Snyder EU or Snyder DC EU pages. They would put out calls. They would like commence this rally, like, a convention to go troll my page or whatever. And then they thought it was hilarious, this and that, and it's schoolyard bullying is what it is. But you think, where do your mindset be? What does your mentality have to be that you spend that much time and energy on something like that? Well, it means that you're very insecure about what you profess to like and profess to support. It means that you actually don't know if it's that good, or you suspect it probably isn't that qualitative, and you don't want other people to realize it. So as soon as somebody else starts pointing out that the Emperor has no clothes, you feel this desperate need to shut them down. Okay, so I've been dealing with that ever since Man of Steel, and it's been a constant. This is how they operate, and no surprise, right? Because those movies, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, whatever, look at the kind of quote unquote heroism or behavior that they inspire. I mean, this is the kind of behavior they glorify. They glorify mopiness, not really doing anything because you think it's the right thing to do, but just sort of, well, I guess I got to do this or whatever, nihilism. There's you can doubt everything, nothing is really true. Nothing is really sacred or good in the world. Everything's hard. It begets that kind of mentality in the people who are drawn to that kind of story and want to sit around and watch it. Well, then they released the news for Batman v Superman. It was at a Comic-Con, I think it was, and Zack Snyder got up there and he showed like the bat symbol over the Superman symbol, and he had one of the actors from the movie come up there and read Batman's lines from The Dark Knight Returns. Of course, that's the only comic book Zack Snyder's ever read. All of a sudden, the Snyder Bros, out of nowhere, picked up their trolling big time. Ha ha, you stupid idiot. We were right all along, and Snyderverse is here to stay. Ha ha ha. Again, from insecurity. Think about that. If you like a movie, if you like a franchise, if you actually did believe that that's a proper handling of the characters, why would you care if somebody's little corner of the internet is saying it isn't? What you would have no time for that person, not even time to tell them they're wrong. Again, they're not coming onto your platform. They're not trying to pick a fight with you. You wouldn't have any time for them. It would be so remote. Like what why would I even pay attention to them? I'm so certain about what I like that I don't even need to mess with them. If I hear people, and I do hear occasionally people try and say that 78 Superman is so cheesy, it's so stupid. I've come across videos like that. What do I care? That's just a proven fact. Anybody who doesn't like the 78 Superman, the Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve Superman, they're just objectively wrong. It's not even a matter of taste. Now, it cannot be to their taste. They might not like it. It's not a movie they'd like to watch or whatever. That's just taste, whatever. But that movie is a classic. It's a wonderful, iconic piece of cinema, storytelling, and a wonderful story that imbues all of the values and iconic nature, the unities of character of Superman. That's just objective truth. So why would I care if anybody, wanted to make a fool of themselves and say it was a horrible movie? But if I was insecure suddenly, let's say like I didn't really know if Superman the movie was that good, or I kind of suspected it wasn't that good, but I really wanted to like it, and then I heard somebody over there in their little corner saying it was bad, well, I would run over there and try to shut them down because them voicing their opinion threatens me, right? There's an insecurity there. So this is what you see in the Snyder Bros, an insecurity. So when they released it, they were going to do Batman v Superman anyway. You know, they were trying to treat that as some sort of triumph, and they kept telling me that you just don't want to believe in something. Have faith. This could be amazing. I'm like, faith is earned. Come on, you don't. You saw what he did in Man of Steel. You know he's going to do the same thing there. There's no taking that Superman. This is another stupid argument. Come on, if you watch his Snyder cut, he's going to make that Superman be the one who leads us into the sun. No, you can't do that. You don't become that kind of character. You are from the start or you're not. That's aspirational heroism. You are it or you're not. There's no becoming the aspirational hero. But, threw all kinds of stuff at me. And then Batman v Superman came out, and it was it was really, it wasn't a bomb in terms of a Hollywood box office bomb, as though, like the movie lost money, like wasn't a solo a Star Wars story bomb, but it couldn't be. You had the first time ever Batman and Superman on the big screen together. This was going to be something that people were going to go watch, but it should have been so much more popular and successful than it was. It was wretched. It was horrible. And Warner Brothers knew it was horrible. They would have pulled the plug right then and there, but they'd already, in their ridiculous short-sightedness and just the idiocy of Warner Brothers executives always, greenlit and gave him the money and had him shooting Justice League pretty much, the next day almost. They were worried. Oh, the Snyder Bros were extremely worried. They tried their best to shut down anybody who dared to speak out against this movie, because they were really worried at this point. It was the make or break point. Justice League was the make or break point, because all of these arguments that, no, it will make sense if you just see where he's going with the story, it'll all make sense. No, it won't. You can't come out of nihilism into aspirational heroism. It doesn't work. So they were really quite worried. Then there was the story, and it's pretty much been debunked. Yes, it's tragic that Zack Snyder's stepdaughter, committed suicide. That's horrible. But it's also pretty much been out there that when that happened, it was kind of used as an excuse to let him go without losing too much face, because Warner Brothers wanted to let him go. I mean, that's obvious too. And they brought in Joss Whedon, which was a stupid move as well. They should have just canceled the whole film. I don't care how much money they lost. They would have ended up losing a lot less money, I think, in the long run, just from the shadow of this film and franchise and how it's killed any of their treatments of the characters, since then. But Snyder was let go. Now that gave the Snyder Bros a bit of an out. That gave them, they could be sort of victimized at that point. They could be, and this is what they did when they started rallying behind release the Snyder Cut. Now, when Joss Whedon's Justice League came out, they acted like, see, that's what happens when you try to take take a good positive spin on this universe. You can't do that. Now, of course, that's an utterly preposterous argument. That's what happens when you try to build anything on the garbage foundation that Zack Snyder laid. You can't take even a Joss Whedon, director of the Avengers, and have him come in and fix that. There's no fixing it. The foundation that Snyder laid is rotten. You can't build anything on top of it. What I've heard is that Warner Brothers knew that the Snyderverse is ridiculous and they were trying to distance themselves, but AT&T came in and they saw what looked like a big buzz on Twitter with the release the Snyder Cut hashtag, and they're the ones that forced. They said, no, you will do the Snyder Cut, and that's when Warner Brothers announced that they were going to pay Zack Snyder even more money for some horrible reason and have him, go ahead and film a Snyder Cut, because there was no such thing as a Snyder Cut. It didn't exist. There was no such thing. He didn't even shoot that much of it. And they scrapped what he did, to do the Whedon stuff over it. So he had to come in and basically reshoot his movie for the most part. Scoring had to be done and everything like that. And this was another victory for them, right? This was a victory for them. Ha ha ha, we've won. All of you stupid haters of the Snyderverse, blah, blah, blah. I'll show you an example here. And they actually found my personal Facebook page, and they sent me this message. This is powerful. These are the kind of messages I would get on the Iconic Superman Facebook page all the time. Okay. So I don't know why he starts out with bye-bye, but you want to boycott the Snyderverse? LOL. Yeah, good luck with that. LOL. Second LOL. It's a losing battle there, kiddo. We have already won the war. And then this image, which I don't know what this is. that insecure, okay, as this movie's coming out, if they were truly happy, if they were truly sure and certain that they were finally going to get the movie that they claimed would prove everyone wrong, if the movie was going to speak for itself so much, why would they need to take the time to go hunt down a personal Facebook page of somebody who said something that they didn't agree with about their movie? It's that insecurity. It's a desperation is what it is. It's a desperation and insecurity about this. And now that that's happened, the Snyder Cut has come out. It doesn't work, guys. The Snyder Cut proved nothing. The best reviews the Snyder Cut has gotten have basically boiled down to it's ultimately a better movie than the Joss Whedon cut. Well, duh. I mean, sure, yeah. It's longer. You know, there's so many plot holes and so many things that Snyder tried to cram into that movie to begin with, which was only even supposed to be part one of a two-parter. And when Whedon tried to pare it down to any kind of decent time frame, of course it was going to skip over a lot of stuff. So yeah, he packed in a lot more to make the little fragments of scenes make a little more sense narratively, but it's garbage. No one except for the Snyder Bros, who were already determined to like it, enjoyed sitting through this and saying, that changed my mind. I see now how I misjudged that Cavill Superman, and he really is going to become a wonderful. No, because none of that work is laid. Because as I've been saying from the beginning, you cannot do it. You cannot create an aspirational hero out of this morbid, deconstructed, nihilistic emo Hamlet that Snyder was determined to make Superman into. You can't make Batman any kind of recognizable character after you've made him the Punisher. He's not Batman anymore. Stop it. He never will be. You've made him a murderer. He'll never be Batman, ever. That doesn't work. And the rest of the characters, too, were ridiculous. Wonder Woman's extremely brutal in this. You know, that's Snyder. He doesn't understand Wonder Woman. He knows Xena Warrior Princess, and he wants Xena Warrior Princess to be there with his Justice League and to wear skimpy clothes and run around. It's garbage. Now, with the recent developments, the Snyder Bros have crawled back into their hole a little bit. They're licking their wounds, but they're coming out all the more fierce because they're even more insecure, right? Now that they were trying, their hopes were that this Snyder Cut, you know, the thing they've been saying would vindicate them and prove, you know, all this stuff. Once it came out, well, it came out. It didn't win anybody over. The people who decided they were going to like it liked it. Everybody else probably didn't even bother with it. And then, you know, so it's garbage. It's garbage. And Warner Brothers said, and that's it. If there truly was a wonderful reception to the Snyderverse, because, you know, the Snyder Bros are trying to spin this around like it's amazing, you know, Twitter says it's great. Twitter's ruled by like 5 temper tantrums. That's what Twitter is. So that was why it was ridiculous for anybody to take a Twitter hashtag or a campaign and think that's the majority of fandom. And I got one more point after this, and then we'll wrap it up. But it didn't work. If there truly was a buzz, if there truly was rabid support for the Snyderverse, then Warner Brothers would be commissioning new films to actually follow the Snyderverse, not just new films as in like a Shazam sequel or whatever, because that's not Snyderverse, even though it's built on the rotten foundation of the Snyderverse, and that's a problem. They're trying to distance themselves as much as they can tonally, you know, from the Snyderverse. But if that was the case, then we'd be hearing right now about all kinds of wonderful extenuations and the Snyderverse is returned and this kind of stuff. A couple of the shill reviewers and articles here and there tried to kind of, you know, plant those rumors or superstitions, but it didn't work because it's not true. It's not happening. And then Warner Brothers came out and said, this isn't happening. I don't even think it's a coincidence that Michael Keaton came out recently with some comments that are kind of more ambiguous, whether he's actually going to do a return as Batman in the Flash movie, because that's one movie that Warner Brothers has, for whatever stupid reason, still tried to make happen. Ezra Miller's horrible Flash film, Flashpoint, which they're trying to use that as a way to retcon the Snyderverse and move on from there. That was the initial reason behind that, and it's kind of just pointless now at any given point. But the director's like, he's trying to go all Spideyverse in it. He's trying to, you know, bring in every character that anybody's ever liked and try to go this stupid, ridiculous route of they're all just different versions, guys. You can like your version, but here's our version. It's all relevant. It's all valid. No, it's not. No, it's not. I've told you how that argument is ridiculous anyway. You can't just have different versions. If the unities of the character aren't there, I don't care how much you want to call it the same character name. It's not the same character. So even Michael Keaton has been sort of, maybe he's not going to do this movie. I hope he doesn't. Man, I truly hope he doesn't, because it would be such a shame for the glorious return we've all wanted for him to come back to the character and maybe even do the character in a more iconic manner than even Tim Burton allowed him to do, because that Batman wasn't 100% iconic Batman, but was the closest thing we ever got on live screen. It'd be horrible for him to come back as the much vaunted return. It'd be like Kevin Conroy finally getting to play live action Batman, and he ends up killer Batman, garbage Dark Knight Returns Batman from the CW multiverse horrible show crossover. So it'd be a tragedy. So I hope he doesn't do it. Now, the last thing I want to say about this, and then I'll get to comments here, is that there's also the phenomena or the fact that Zack Snyder came out and threw a bunch of people under the bus recently, and he did. Make no bones about it. He threw people under the bus consciously. There have been a lot of YouTube channels, some that I even respect, some that I enjoy. I love Geeks and Gamers as a channel in general. I rabidly disagree with them many, many times, and I think they're flat out wrong on many different things. But whatever, they probably think I'm wrong on many different things. Jeremy's never been anything but nice to me, and I wish him all the best. I think he's got a great channel and a great thing that he's built there. Nerdrotic, love Gary from Nerdrotic. Never hear me say a bad word about him. But those are just two of the channels, and there have been many others. Those are just the ones that I sort of know the people behind. But Doomcock, Midnight's Edge, Rob, the announcer guy. Rob is he's been wonderful to me. I've been on their channel once or twice. Love those guys as well. But I do think they're flat out wrong about this stuff as well. So a lot of YouTube channels in the sort of this sort of anti ideologues in Hollywood community on YouTube had tried to stand up for the Snyder Cut. Even if they, some of them thought the movies were great, some of them liked those interpretations of the characters, but even if they didn't, this was their argument. And this was the argument of some people I've seen on YouTube in general, some of the viewers as well. Well, they gave the fans what they wanted. And that's what's important, right? The fans wanted a Snyder Cut, so they gave the fans that. So it's good that they actually gave fans what they wanted. Isn't that good? And their reasoning behind this is to say, well, look at what's happening in the comic industry, our film industry and whatever, when the fans say, hey, we want this from these characters, and people say, no, shut up, you won't get that. You'll get what we want you to read with those characters, because we're here to preach to you and whatnot. This is a false equation here. This is not what's going on with the Snyderverse. First of all, that argument doesn't work, because let's apply it to another franchise. What does that mean for Disney Star Wars then? Does that mean that Disney needs to make more sequel trilogy continuity films? We need to go ahead and give Rian Johnson his Disney Star Wars trilogy, and we need to go ahead and have more from Rey, and we need to have more from those characters, because, hey, some fans do like it and they do want it. And make no mistake, don't pretend that, the sequel trilogy has no fans. That's bull. They have fans everywhere. This is part of the problem out there. The problem is their fans are the wrong thing. You can't just make something because some fan somewhere wants it. That's not the key. The answer isn't just to listen to the fans across the board. It's listen to culture. It's listen to what these characters do in their archetypes for culture, for society, and make something true to that. That's the middle ground between telling a good story, being true to the characters, and also fan service, right? Fan service in general isn't a bad thing, but when you're built across it all the way, and that's what some of these arguments are. These people who are saying, well, it's good that they gave the fans what they wanted, so I'm glad that the Snyder fans have their Snyder Cut. No, it's horrible for the characters. It's detrimental for the characters. This is the same kind of argument that I got from people when I pointed out how the Joker movie was a horrible, horrible, garbage take on the Joker. That is not how you treat the Joker. I don't care how good the movie might be on its own as a film, story-wise. The Snyder films weren't even good stories or good, well-told movies or directed films or anything like that in general, bad scripts from the ground up. But I've heard that the Joker movie is actually a very good film. Doesn't matter, though. It's a bad, horrible telling. It's a wrong telling of the character. That it does preserve anything about the Joker's character and what makes him a wonderful elemental villain. And people were saying, yeah, but I kind of feel like I have to support it because the SJWs really hate it. Well, okay, as I've said before, then that means that good story isn't important to you. It's just important to you that the ideologues lose. That's all that's important to you. So people who are saying, well, yeah, I'm not crazy about the Snyderverse, but hey, it's good that they gave the fans what they wanted. Some fans wanted it, and it's good they gave it to them. Well, then again, you don't care about story. You don't care about proper tellings of the characters. You just care about the Hollywood system, and you just want it to act. But, I don't attack people personally that I don't know. I attack their work. That's that. I don't do the ad hominem fallacy. I look at what their work is. But you can't ignore when somebody like Zack Snyder, who has consistently behaved a certain way or said certain things in the spotlight in regards to anybody who would disagree with him about these characters. He's come out and said that he's insulted people who don't like his take of Superman. They're just stuck in the past. There was that award ceremony, I forget what it was, where he was cussing and saying that people are ridiculous who don't think Batman should kill. That's just stupid. It's not realistic. Blah blah blah. You know, of course Batman should kill. He made fun of Ant-Man when Batman v Superman had yet to come out, and he was full of himself. He thought he was just gonna be wonderful. It's kind of sad, really. Before Batman v Superman came out, in his mind, it was going to be the biggest success ever. He was talking about all these other movies he wanted to do, and he wants to do a George Washington movie one day, and blah blah blah. And Batman v Superman came out, and it was garbage, and his career went into the tank. But he truly thinks these things, and he was making fun of Ant-Man, which is 10 times the film at least Batman v Superman ever was. I mean, that's just objective truth too. It's a better script, it's better directed, it's better acted, the story makes more sense. You might not like that kind of story. You might prefer nihilistic BS like Snyder does, but that doesn't matter. There's objective truth to what constitutes good art in terms of the craft that's aside from taste. And then recently, when he came out and threw Geeks and Gamers under the bus like that, I mean, Geeks and Gamers, who gave that man nothing but support. As much as I disagree with the things they were saying, they were huge supporters of him. They were trying to do something good for charity, even, and linking that to what he was doing. And he came out just like any SJW ideologue and wanted to detach himself. And he knew what he was doing. It was very purposeful. And people are already trying to spin it. Well, it was just a poorly spoken PR announcement, just kind of poorly spoken. That's all. No, it wasn't. Get your head out of the ground. Come on, people. This is the kind of character that Zack Snyder is. This is the kind of values he has. We've talked many times about the things he said about comic books and the darkness that he wants to bring. And he doesn't believe anything should be light and inspirational. It needs to be dark and real, and it's not funny or fun, and it's horrible to be a hero, and it's all these insecurities and self-doubt. I mean, it's sad, as much as I've been a target of their bullying, I do feel sorry for them that they're that unself-aware and that insecure about things, because that kind of insecurity doesn't just stick to your fandom. That runs to other things in your life. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I point out the true nature of these heroes, who they should be truly and archetypically, and what kind of work they should do in our society, because the hero should be there to heal insecurities like that. The hero should be there to teach us how to overcome stuff like that. The hero should be there to give us something to strive for that's better, not to just deconstruct a bunch of stuff and show us mopey ways that we can act and glory in our own self-pity. And that's what the Snyder stuff does.